Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate. So I would love for you to start out just by letting us know who you are in as many or few words as you'd like.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, so my name is Maria Rodriguez, and I am 30 years old. I now live in Austin, Texas. I work at a gym here in Austin. It's called Liberation Barbell Club, and that's where Fear Her Fight lives right now, which is really cool. Fear Her Fight Athletics is my small business, and we work to just highlight athletes in all spectrums, not just strength sports, that are, that feel like they don't have a platform. I think a lot of the time, like brown and black athletes are always looking up to white athletes because there's like no other representation or no one at the level that we're trying to get to. And so it's really wonderful to have this community of people that, support one another and are uplifting each other. And, all of our community in Fear Her Fight has been with us for a minute. And right now we're gaining a little bit more traction just because of this pandemic. How small businesses work right now is depressing, but also, right, like it's also super encouraging to find, right, like go out and find small businesses to support. So yeah, I run that, and then Fear Fight United is the little sister that we were this year planning to do events for meets, specifically for the LGBTQ community, specifically for marginalized communities, and to make sure that all of these meets have the root of inclusion, because there's so many regulations and a lot of other meets that you can find that, oh, if you're trans, no, there's no way you can compete with us. I think that's just horrible. And so we have that available. But because of Corona, we're on a pause right now. So Fear Fight United will pick back up, fingers crossed, when things don't feel so heavy. And then I also do some remote coaching for strength athletes for sure. I don't really promote that a lot just because of like my activist work too. Like as soon as I got to Austin, like I hit the ground running with like protests and integrating myself with like women ran like organizers and trying to be as available as possible for Austin organizers. So I am also trying to rest during all of this. There's really no other choice because we can't really hang out. So yeah, it's hard, but yeah. So I was a full-time coach and then in Washington, and then I became a case manager. So I was working with the homeless population in Pierce County. So that really ignited my passion for advocating for people who don't have the resources to. So I would love to get back into that. But again, Corona is, kind of like pulling me like, hey, not yet, not yet, which is okay. But yeah, other than that, I like to lift sometimes. I was powerlifting for 4 years. And, because of the gym shutting down, these last couple of months, I really didn't have a place to lift until obviously I moved here to Boston. But I realized a lot like that I wanted to become a better athlete. And so what that looked like for me meant getting back into conditioning work. So right now I'm doing some CrossFit stuff and I'm also doing jujitsu. So and I'm continuing powerlifting. So I'm in the gym, doing my thing, and it feels really good. It feels really good to come back to my body and just how my body hasn't worked in years and how I feel like a beginner. And I think that's so important and humbling or just anyone in anything, not just sports, to be vulnerable. And like there's this part about like being brave about doing something for the first time and like saying like I don't know, or I suck at this. And so to like do that for me right now, it feels really fulfilling. So yeah, that's me.
Yay, I love it. Well, and you know, talking about being a beginner, I'd love to know, you know, I've spoken with people who don't lift or haven't lifted in a long time or think
Mhm.
they're too old or too young. What would you maybe
Mhm.
say to all those other people who are like, I don't know. I don't know. Like I want to, but I don't know if I can.
Right. I think the surface idea is that they're comparing themselves. And literally, yes, you can. If you can get out of bed, like physically out of bed, you could probably squat or learn to squat. If you roll over, you could probably like work on a push up, right? Like in your bed. Like right? Like if the thing is like our bodies are capable of so much that we have yet to even just learn as just basic humans. Like our bodies are incredible, so incredible. And I would tell them that yes, they can, to work on their person, right? Their idea, like focus on, come back to you. Don't focus on anyone else, because it's, I get it, it's automatic and we get like intimidated and stuff, but like who are we comparing ourselves to and why? Um right, that's just like literally saying like I'm checking out. But you are the only one that's in charge of your body, and so you get to tell your body what to do no matter how long that takes. And so I think that's a lot of the hard part for people, is to just try. People are so scared of trying. And even if you feel, try again tomorrow, try, eventually that trying is doing. So I think to whatever, whomever, you know, is scared or doesn't think that they can, yes.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to switch gears just a tad. And I know we'll come back to it. And thank you for that advice. But I know that you are trained in traditional art. So
Oh,
what has
oh
your,
yeah.
I'm curious your path. Oh yeah, that other part. I'm curious about your path. I know we've
Uh-huh.
discussed it a little bit before when we
Mhm.
finally met in person, but I'm just curious for everyone's sake, like you're an artist and like when did powerlifting come into play? When did this
Yeah,
brand come into play? Like how does it all work together?
right. They're braided. So really good question. I love to come back to this question as well. So my experience in art school was transformative in every sense of the word. Like literally from like my DNA to the outside, and how I work and how my actions affect everything in art. So I'm a very creative person. I always have known this about myself. um and it like problem solving, like I never take like a no for like okay, that's it, we're gonna just do the other thing. I'm just like always asking questions, so like my curiosity has never failed, um or like been asleep. So how does art kind of resonate right now in my life is structuring. So my major was in sculpture and in fine arts, and so painting and drawing and mixed media and film and photography and all of these different ways to capture what I deemed as essential to learn more, whether that be like, so for me, I am not the most practical person. So to like view something and see it as like a thing, like I just see like metaphors and colors and shapes, and like that's just how my brain operates. And like there's like this song about, there's a poem about this area here, right? So like I got into performative art, and then I also got into some like sound and video, and I also was very good at installations. So like a tableau, right, is like a space where you can create an environment, a feeling, a story. So in museums, you know, a lot of the time, the most, for me at least, the thing that um, kind of gets you like right in the gut is like live, right? So it's placed in a way where you can feel it. It's rather than compared to like maybe like a drawing, right? So the space about it is the story. And um so I think that whatever magic I created in my like 4.5 years of college, and creating a space and creating like an energy, I think it has translated in my life because of my resiliency, right? So I don't like feeling like I've given up or I've failed. I always view it as something else, right? Like there's a reason for the reason. There's a reason for whatever I didn't get to, or the person I didn't get to, right? Like there's a lesson in something. There's a story. There's a message. And so for me, like looking back on over the years after I've graduated college, I created a business. So I am not a business person, but like the idea of creating a community is an art. This community of people who want to support and want to show up and want to advocate for something greater, right? And so that itself is a piece. Like to me, that's just like as an artist and like the language and the rhetoric, that's a piece. Like, and yes, like the marketing and the design and like what the shirts look like and all of that and how the message is seen to the public is art. So I guess my degree really came in handy because of what I built. And I'm not saying that like I built this like new message. Like we've always talked about inclusion and equity and equality. We've been talking about this, but to have like this like thing, maybe it's the shirt. Maybe that's the thing that's going to ask questions, like someone in the grocery store seeing the shirt. Oh, what's this? It creates the language. It creates a conversation. What does that conversation do? It maybe gets dragged into the internet. Someone's sharing something like, oh, I learned about this today. Who does that reach, right? So like all of it is just creating this community with a message. And I think that's art, and it doesn't have to be something that you hang out on the wall. It can literally be like the reason why you wake up every day.
So you've turned that into a business, into some money making for yourself. Are you still painting? Are you still sculpting at all? Like for fun?
For fun, I know. So no one told me in art school that I was going to be a good welder. So I welded, and I think it was really wonderful to be able to literally put things together with heat. And so that in itself for me was like putting things together, like bringing people together. And the heat necessarily is like a conversation. Maybe that someone doesn't want to talk about. Let's talk about that, right? So painting, I I like abstract stuff, so like graffiti and just like being messy with stuff. So like even cooking I think is painting too, right? Like you're putting things together, like you're creating this like design to find this product that's going to be enjoyable. So not in the literal sense, and I'm clearly not welding because like big welder is a lot of money and I don't have the space for it in my apartment. So unfortunately no one told me like, hey, like after you graduate you're gonna have to buy this thing, like because it was already available at the school. But I think of it in different ways. And so I don't really do physical drawing. I don't really do physical painting or welding anymore. But I think my body and like my athleticism uh, is is like is a sculpture. You know, like I built my body, and I'm not like the fittest on earth or anything like that. But it's like it takes work, it takes time, even if it takes like 10 minutes a day. You know what I mean? Like come back to your drawing like 10 minutes a day. So I think like as cheesy as it sounds, like, you know, I'm the canvas, right? So like and for I'm sorry. For me, it's it literally starts it started years ago, just like any piece, right? Like Picasso didn't just bust out his best piece like in an hour. It took a lot of time. And so I think just like everyone's life can be their own painting, you know, and like what does the end result look like? So I think that for me is like giving myself compassion too, and it also resists this like very like imperial like capitalistic bullshit like mindset, like internalized, right, like white supremacy, to just like let it go and be like, it's okay, like we're not going to get it the first time, we're not supposed to be perfect, you know, like some paintings are worth $6 million and it's just like a fucking line on the wall, like, but story behind why it's just that one line. So yeah, I think it's beyond just like actual ink. I think it can be I think it can be very much just like energy.
So how long, because I've gone through in my head every once in a while, I think, am I doing what I wanted to, what I thought I would be when I was younger? Like how long did it take for you to realize that life is art and that you don't have to be sculpting every day in order to be an artist?
Yeah. I think it's every day I learn something about myself that is a piece to everything. So I don't think I woke up on December 1st of 2017 and realized, oh, I get it now. Like it's just it for me though, like this entire message, I think I realized like holy shit, like it's gonna be okay. Like probably last year. And I was in the really, really hard part of my marriage. So Zach and I are divorced and it's fine now. It's fine. Congratulations to me for doing that because that's really, really hard. And I'm very, very lucky that I'm, you know, as healed as anyone within the first year of a divorce can feel. Um, but yeah, I just realized like, you know, learning and this and like understanding like this, we're in a pandemic. And so it's like, what are actual problems and what are just like some like, you know, stresses in our life that are they actually stress? So like having quiet time has taught me this. So I think all of what I'm saying really started about a year ago. And then obviously this pandemic cemented that idea. It was like, okay, here we are, like all these new questions, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Right? Like we're all kind of like in our little homes or wherever that quiet space is. What am I doing? So then things became very easy to like get rid of. Or, you know, like people, for example, like, are they really your friend? So I think the quiet is actually very loud. Yeah, especially right now. Mm-hmm.
So with the quiet being loud, and then you're also working, you know, multiple jobs, and you're out on the streets as an activist, like, how do you rest? How do you rest?
So I get naked and in my bed, I just lay in the dark. And I just kind of like truly I just did this yesterday. I was like, I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to check my texts. Sure, I'll Instagram to just kind of because sometimes I love looking at like dog videos. They're just very like yeah, yes, I have a dog, but he's super chill. Like dog videos and like I just like there's another part of my brain that just opens up and it's just like shitty things. Like just let's just watch like a shitty documentary. Like right? Like even though documentaries you're still learning. Wow. But but resting for me honestly is just letting my body not move. That's what works for me. A lot of people will do this whole thing of like, I'm gonna pour myself a drink, turn on this music, but that's like noise, and I'm always around noise. So to be as quiet as possible, and right now the only place I can do that, so grateful, is, in my house. I don't live with anyone, I just live with my dog. So there's a lot of quiet time, but that's not to say that it's not hard to turn off my brain. I've really, I found out like my codependency, ish with, sleeping with someone, because, right, like me and my husband, like having that body next to me, that was like the safety, security. So like my sleeping wasn't happening. And so I got really concerned, like, why am I not sleeping? And then that went downhill, because I was like, you need to sleep. So sleeping has been priority. So actually, I love naps. If naps work, I'm gonna take a nap, because I need to just like let my body like have that moment. So yeah, naps and being naked in my room feels good.
I love that. That's perfect. And I feel like, and I know that like Instagram is not always the exact same thing as real life, but as I'm watching you on Instagram, I'm like, she is like always out protesting. Like, do you sleep? Are you taking naps? Are you taking naps in your car? Like,
No, 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 no. I come in my house, lock the doors, get into my room, and I'm just like, okay, here we go. We're gonna sit. And it's just kind of like, it feels like, I need to do that all the time. Like I don't like to say like I'm my own best friend, but I'm a pretty good friend to myself. Like, hey, like, let's really analyze that conversation you had. Like, and I think sometimes I overthink. I've been really working on it, but it's helped my communication. So it's just like a check-in. Like, I have a little meeting with myself. It's like, all right, where are we at? What do we need to do? What are we anxious about? Like, I ask myself those questions. I'm not scared of those questions, because I want to be better. Yeah.
I love that so much. So you moved during the pandemic, correct? Yeah. So I'm curious how, in relocating in a pandemic,
Mm.
uh, how are you finding community? And how did you jump into activism, like that community, so quickly when you moved?
Yeah.
Because you moved across country.
I know, I know. So wild. Um, you know what? What it was what well, I had planned to, okay, so we got a divorce, I moved out, I took my dog. Um, what was planned was, from Washington, we were gonna go down to Portland, down into California, and then, to my original plan was, ooh, let me move to San Diego, because I've always wanted to live in San Diego. Pandemic happened, changed a little bit. So I moved, and so I had some like meetings in Portland, because a lot of Fear of Fight people are in Portland. And we just wanted to get together, like talk about what was happening. Oh my God, this pandemic, like we're not probably this isn't gonna happen. So I literally got my car and like all of my life in the car, and just like I was traveling. This is okay, like, right? This feels good. And then I was like, nope, I need to go see my family. So I went to Arizona. And when I was in Arizona, like at the end of February, after our meet in Portland, because we had a powerlifting meet in Portland, I was like, all right, I'm gonna chill here, because this feels really good, right? Like, I hadn't seen my family in a long time. I hadn't like seen them for that amount of time in years. Because Seattle flights are just up the butt expensive. And so I stayed with my family. I was like, well, obviously I asked. I was like, hey, can I come over? They're like, please, we miss you. So I'm so lucky for them. And so technically I got like a little stuck, because at that it was like peak, like, everyone don't move, like, put a mask on and don't touch, like, right? So I got kind of like stuck. I had all of Fear Fight, like I had like, you know, my clothes, like I didn't take any furniture from my house. That's another story. But I I basically was just kind of sitting there like twiddling my fingers like, where am I gonna live? Like it was so uncomfortable and so strange. But coming into, like manifesting it, right? Like, okay, like let's do a little bit here and there with Fear or Fight, even though this is super depressing. Anyway, Lori, the owner of Liberation Barbell Club, she reached out to me because she just competed at the meet, Portland, and that's where we met. She flew out for this meet. Bless her heart, so wonderful. She reached out and she knew who I was. She followed me for a long time apparently. And she's like, Maria, I love what you're doing. Like, I know a little bit about the story. You know, you moved out of Washington. Do you want to move to Texas? And I was like, yeah, on my way. And she's like, okay, because I would love for you to like work with Liberation Barbell Club and like however you see yourself here, whatever position you want, like let's talk about it. So that was very wonderful. So already I had someone here in Austin that was like not only a supporter of like Fear or Fight, but knew who I was and what I stood for, right? And then also she's gay as fuck, and I love I just having that like love, right? That community, I already felt safe. Um, so I found a little apartment that's like close to the gym. And then she introduced me to people like, Maria, you would really like knowing like again what I stand for. She's not gonna like have me over here talking to a fucking cop, right? So she knows who I basically resonate with. Anyway, it's slowly but surely like the gym's people are really wonderful. The people at the gym, I'm sorry. People at the gym are wonderful. And then social distancing and stuff, but like sharing like, hey, I'm at, my friend Dom. She's like, hey, you would be really cool to talk to so and so. Like it's just so wonderful to know that I don't have to explain myself to anyone. People are just going to understand, right? Like the work does it for me. And I don't feel like I'm constantly like I used to be having to like tell people like to not be so racist around me, like you know what I mean? And so it's just really nice to have this community here. The way I got into sort of the policy side of Austin was because I reached out. Like I was the one to be like, where can I be? What do you need? Because for a minute the gym was actually closed. So when I moved here, I was like, okay, I understand that. Yes, I have an apartment. Yes, I have a job when it opens, but like, what can I do in the meantime? And this was like already like I knew Black Lives Matter. Like I was already following that for a minute, but like here in Austin, I was just like, yo, if I have the time to put on a mask and just like figure out where the Capitol is, where the APD is, right? Like what's getting gentrified, like what side of the freeway, like is it like you know uh is it just white, like so I did a lot of that work. So a lot of people, I introduced myself like, hey, I'm new, like blah blah blah, and so everyone's really wonderful about that. But yeah, I think right now for me, I gave myself a little bit of a pause from protesting, just because it was like I was triggered to no end. There was a shooting a couple weeks ago, and I was there, and it was one of the hardest things to accept that my friend got shot and died. And yeah, so after that, I kind of stopped. I kind of stopped going. Like everything about it became very triggering. But I still did as much as I could, not being on the streets. And so, yeah, I'm still aware of all the events that are happening. I'm sharing it with other people and stuff, but I have to just be honest with myself and just kind of heal from that as well.
Give yourself some space, and I'm sorry about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, me
But
too.
there are so many other ways, and you found a way to protest with Fear Her Fight, you know, before you were in Austin, before you were on the streets protesting with everyone. So like there are other ways to protest.
Yes.
So I'm curious where you see as unpredictable as this year and like every year has been basically, but at least the last year for you has been pretty damn unpredictable. Like
Mhm.
where you see things going, where you'd like to grow in different areas of your life, including Fear Her Fight.
I, you mentioned something about like, I forget the word you used, but basically saying like, like money, right? Like Fear or Fight is not making money, is not. And I say that because any money we get, it's like, oh, there's a petition, and here's $100, and oh, you need your rent paid, and you are a queer trans Black mom, like here you go. And so that's where all the money goes. And I need to do a better job about that, but there's a place in me that's just like, is that just like bragging? You know what I mean? But it's for me, I don't know. I think that I would like to see Fear Fight grow in the sense that it's educating people, right? Like to say like, hey, this brand exists and has been existing because it's helped and supported and uplifted and empowered people to still show up as is and feel validated. That is so important. Um, and so to have to like, I don't know, I would love our voice to get stronger, and it's not gonna be, Fear Fight isn't gonna like necessarily change anyone's life. I think it's going to maybe implant or encourage or give a little bit more oomph to people's like blind spots and say like, okay, like I need to do better. And that's all I want. Like I'm I'm not, I've never been the person just like, oh, I'm gonna make all this money and I don't say that to be like, oh, look at me. I don't know how. My brain is so creative. Just like, oh, just be happy. Like, and sometimes I wish it would be like, no, sit down, do this budget and save your money. Like, that's not, because I'm not like, what if I die tomorrow? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it literally could just happen. And so the way I see Your Fight is just to just keep going and encourage, like to just be a place of encouragement. Where I see like myself going is like I would love to have, to have more time. I guess the time that I'm creating myself now for my athleticism. Like I didn't realize I could do all these things. Um, like in my body, and like it takes a lot of brain work to believe in yourself this way, and to be skilled at different things and to like awaken the parts of your brain that have been asleep, to challenge myself. And I think I really love that. I'm not afraid of sucking at something, because of jujitsu. uh I suck at jujitsu and I just keep going. um, and I just figure, like, you know what? Like, this is how you get better. And I have never sucked at something. I'll be honest. I've been good at it and just gotten like better. But with this part, it's like I suck at chess, and this is literally like physical chess. Like you have to think 4 steps ahead. You have to be technical. You have to take your time. You need to understand where your toes are and where the wrist is and how it's everything. And I've never multitasked that much in a moment with my body. And like there's so much feedback. So I think right now I would love to just continue learning about myself. And yes, I'm 30 years old, and I feel like for the first time in my life, like I'm untapping into places that I had no idea like existed. So that's cool.
That is cool. That is so cool. I love it. I'm 30 as well. So, you know, it's one of those things where I thought,
Yeah.
as I was like leaving this nonprofit, this volunteer
Hmm.
position this year, I was like, well, who am I? Because that's been part of my
Yeah.
identity for so long. And it's like, I can be and do whatever I want.
That. No one tells us that.
No,
We
no,
gotta
and
tell
they're like,
ourselves that.
you spend your college and your 20s figuring that out, and then you're figured out. It's like, nope, not me. I
No.
undid everything that I figured
That's
out.
what I was literally about to say. In your 20s, you make all the mistakes. And like, yeah, it's fun or whatever. But like, finally, I'm 30 now. I'm just like, oh, okay. I feel like I'm kind of like, all right, here we go. Like, you're not starting your life, but like, this is it. Here we go. What are you gonna do with it? Like, it should be creative, you know?
Yeah, I love it. Well, and also to the mistake point, it's like, so often I was thinking like, oh, I'm supposed to use my 20s to make my mistakes. I'm not going to make any mistakes, but it's like a lot of the mistakes
Mm,
that you make, they don't look like mistakes at first, or like staying
yes.
too long with something, whether it's a job or friendship or volunteer position, you know,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
those turn into
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that was how the mistake happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm perfectly fine with getting messy with all kinds of decisions going into my 30s,
Right.
and who knows where things will go.
Honestly, messy is a very good word for it because I don't take it as like irresponsible, right? Because in the moment we're thinking like, oh, this is right. This is an alignment. But when we look back on it, it was just like, ooh, was that an alignment? Like, but you're not gonna know that it's not part of your alignment until you're out of it. So yeah, messy is a great word for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well,
Here.
how can people find you in all of your mess and follow you and also support you?
Yes, I love that. Find me in my mess at Maria, Maria Rodriguez underscore FHF on Instagram. Barely do I use Facebook. Really, don't. I just use it to like say hi to my mom. And then, yeah, our website is fearfight.com. We have an Instagram, Fearfight Athletics. But mainly I'm on Instagram. I think it's just the easiest way to reach people.
I love that so much. Do you have anything else that you want to share that you can think of?
Basically just to just keep going. Just keep like find whatever medium you use. If you love podcasts, stick with that. Learn all of them, listen to all of them. If you love spending money, spend money on small businesses, spend money on, black and brown, like authors, teachers, creators, put that money there. If you love, just reading, go read something about like the real history of this fucking country. If you love having conversations, find a topic and have a conversation with someone and challenge each other. I think it's okay to create that space to be like, all right, this is going to be a space where things might get really kind of like tangled, but like really like let's our intention is to learn about so and so, right? So like to be intentional about what we want is really, really, really vital right now. Yeah. And
I
if you
love it.
have the capacity or the energy or the privilege to vote, please do that.